Hey y'all, I'm Stay Hall.
And I'm Wallace Hall.
And together we are the Halls. And this is The Hallway. Today we want to talk to you guys about a subject that can be somewhat taboo, especially in the culture that the two of us grew up in, and I'm sure many of you watching, and that is the subject of mental health. And we want to kind of drill down a little deeper and talk specifically about dealing with mental health issues in a relationship, in a marriage. Since there are millions of us walking around dealing with mental health issues on a regular basis, then that means it's inevitable that mental health issues can possibly come up in a marriage with either one or both people. And knowing how we are as the Hallway, we are very open, candid, and transparent. We just thought that we would share a little bit with you about how we deal with it in our marriage.
Right. It's something that's can't be taken lighthearted. It's got to be serious. It's one of those conversations that we've talked about before. It's a critical conversation that you must have when it comes to dealing with mental health in those situations. Sometimes there comes a point where you just don't understand, and when it's something you don't understand, you can never belittle it or anything like that. You must talk about it seriously, and you must be willing to have the open dialogue so you can get to the bottom of it, so you can find a way, a common ground for you to deal with certain things, so you don't react or respond in a negative way that always becomes positive and uplifting when you're dealing with certain situations in life, period.
Right. And so with us, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get the cat out of the bag. I am the one in the relationship who suffers with some mental health issues. As long as I can remember, before I even knew what it was, I have dealt with some degree of panic and anxiety and depression. And so it wasn't until I was an adult that I was able to put my finger on exactly what it was that I was dealing with, but I always knew that there was something. So when I was in elementary school, things might happen and I would hyperventilate and have to do the whole thing breathing in the paper bag or head between my knees. And sometimes I didn't even know why it was happening. I actually, for a little while when I was little, thought that I had asthma or something, because when you deal with panic and anxiety, it doesn't always manifest itself at a time where it would make sense, right? So if you're dealing with a stressful situation, if you're going through something really difficult in your life, then it would make sense that you may have some panic and anxiety. But when you suffer from panic and anxiety as an actual mental disorder, it sometimes happens out of the clear blue and you don't even know exactly what it is that's triggered you.
Right. There are certain things that kind of just come along. You just never know what it's going to be. And I think it's a little unfair for her to say she's the one. I think we all suffer from some type of mental health situation, some type of trauma or some type of situations that make us feel a little uncomfortable. I know I've dealt with in the past seasonal depression, just different stuff that I've dealt with, and just coming through life and putting undue pressure on myself was a big cause of that, is what I've come to find out in that. And just being able to deal with those situations and move forward. And the best way I can feel, like I say, is to have those conversations and be open and honest about it. You know, if you're not feeling right, you're not seeing things you don't feel correctly, or, you know, there's some tension or some things just don't seem to be going the way you need, it's best to talk about it. Best to find a expert or someone to talk about. I know we don't like to talk about a lot in the African American community, that we've been taught in past to just pray about it, to just do other things about it. But God gives us a discernment to know when we need to find people that know better than us. You know, you never sick and or have some type of stomach ailment or cut or something like that and just pray about it. You go see a doctor. You go to the emergency room. So why, when it comes to things like mental health and things like that, that you wouldn't seek professional help? And I want to challenge everyone to, if you're not seeing things correctly, you're not feeling correctly, you just feel like something's off, it's best to go and just meet with someone. And I know most insurances take it. There's a lot of government agencies and things like now allow you to come and see somebody for free. So you don't even need insurance to see something like that. So it needs to stop being taboo. It needs to stop being something that's kept in the back of everybody's house, or in storage and swept under the rug or in the closet or something. It needs to be something that's addressed, because nowadays in time it's really all about getting better. It should have been that way all along, but it needs to be about getting better. And we all want the best you can be. I want the best me I can be. I want the best you can be. So, and that's what we want for each and every one of you guys, to be the best you can be.
And when it comes to dealing with the mental health issues as a couple, if there is one of you who doesn't really struggle with it, and the reason why I say in our relationship, I'm the one, is because I deal with it on almost a daily basis in some way, shape, or form. As Wallace shared, he has dealt with seasonal depression in the past, but again, the key word is seasonal. It doesn't make it any less serious, but he does have the opportunity to have times where it's not a struggle, where it's nothing that he's having to battle every day. With me, there is something every day that has me anxious, that has me panicked, or there's nothing, but I'm always aware of it and I'm not sure exactly what it is that has me feeling that way. But when you're dealing with it as a couple, first of all, if you are the one who has these issues and you know that you have these issues, you need to be open and honest with them up front, with whoever it is that you're in this relationship with, especially if it's a relationship that you see moving forward in a very serious and permanent way. You don't want to try to pretend that everything is fine when you know at some point the rubber's going to meet the road and you're going to have one of those days that's not so great, and you don't want to catch your partner off guard and just thinking, what in the world is going on? So don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. Be open about it and share, because everyone is battling something. Some, it's just a little bit more prevalent than others. And you also don't want to go in a relationship hiding it, because you want to be fair to that person so they're not caught off guard, but you also need to know, is this someone who can handle it? And so when I first was engaged to Wallace, I mean, he kind of knew I was a little, I guess, high strung before, but we had never really put a name on it. And when we had the discussion, and I let him know, hey, I deal with panic and anxiety. I have panic attacks. They feel like this. They look like this. Sometimes I do this. Sometimes I do that. He was very open and receptive. And what I loved about it is, once I got done with my entire spiel, the only thing he said was, well, when you go through this, what can I do to help you? What is the best thing? And that's the way you need to be. The last thing you should do if you have a spouse or a partner who deals with any type of mental health is do that whole, what's wrong with you? It's not that big of a deal. Calm down. It's going to be fine. Why are you doing all that? That is counterproductive.
Right. And one of the things I know with me is, I'm speaking just from a man's perspective in this situation, is men as fixers, all we want to do is make sure our partner, our spouse, or wife is okay. That's the whole deal. I wanted to make sure she was okay, and what could I do to help? And in this situation, sometimes there's nothing you can do except just be there. It's not always speaking out and saying, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. Sometimes it's just being willing to listen, to observe, to just watch, and just make sure you're not adding to the conflict, or you're not adding to the situation. And I know sometimes the guys, it's hard for us to just pull back, and that's what we have to do sometimes, is just pull back and just allow, and just watch and just be there where we can, just try to be kind. Don't be so, I need to know what's going on. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of, you can't be that. You got to have a soft hand. Let's wait. You deal with it softly, and in conversation, and just in your actions and your responses to the situation is best. Like I say, sometimes you're not going to be able to fix it with a few words. Sometimes you're not going to be able to fix it with trying to do other things. It's best to just kind of sometimes just be there and just fill in the gap where you need it. Right.
And sometimes people think that they're helping, and
once again, we're talking about our situation, though.
Right. And they have the best of intentions, but they'll do things, especially when people are dealing with depression, they'll do things like, you have a wonderful life. I don't understand how you could be sad. You have this, and that. You have everything to look forward to. So many people would love to have the life that you have. When really, as someone who has suffered from depression, those are the worst things to say, because that makes you feel even more depressed because you realize in your rational mind that you do have a great life and that things are good and that you're blessed. And so when someone else brings those to your attention during those moments of depression or anxiety, it makes you feel even worse because now you're realizing, yeah, I'm feeling bad and I don't even know why, and how selfish or ungrateful of me to feel this way when I do have all these wonderful things going on. But at the same time, I don't have any control of how I feel. I want to be happy about what's going on. I want to feel great. I want to put a smile on my face. I want to be able to really absorb all the wonderful things in my life. But for some reason, there's some sort of chemical imbalance that's going on that's not allowing me to really enjoy those things the way I desire to. And so to me, it's better to let that person know, I understand how you can feel that way. I get it. We all struggle sometimes. It's okay. Don't just say, look at all this great stuff you have going on. How could you possibly be feeling bad? That's not helping at all.
Right. And I've had people, just certain times, like I say, the things I've dealt with, just like, why you feel that way? Why are you doing that? Look at what you've achieved. Look at this and that. And sometimes it's just not that. Like I say, just something there's all the time, all the dots don't connect, or all the things just don't quite go to line up the way you want them to. And this way it just kind of comes out sometimes. So it's just things you deal with. And, in the past, I've had counselors, had counselors and things like that I sought to try and help me figure out what was causing these issues, or what was causing me not to feel like Wallace should feel. And through therapy and some other different ways, and credit to my beautiful wife, that, this is something I hardly ever have any issue with anymore, because I did seek that help and was able to get to a point where that's not a factor anymore. I look at things differently, and just sometimes just that little tweak that changes your perspective on life and changes the way you see things. And moving forward, I just approach that each and every day through a few different exercises and things like that I do, or mental exercises that keep me on track and keep me focused, so I can continue to strive and be successful the way I feel like I need to be. And so something I'm happy with.
Yeah, and another thing is, we talk about counseling and seeking that professional help. The person who is suffering from whatever mental issues it may be, absolutely, they need to seek professional help, because no matter how much we as a spouse or a partner want to be that help, that's not our lane. We can be support, but we don't necessarily have the tools and the education and everything we need to give them the help that they deserve. However, if you are the spouse who doesn't suffer from the mental illnesses, or at least on a regular or a very prevalent basis, you should probably also seek that professional help to kind of help you to be that support and manage things, so that you aren't unintentionally making things worse, to teach you to have the patience, because it does sometimes take a lot of patience to deal with someone who's battling something that you don't really understand. Because I can just speak from my experience in what I deal with. I deal with panic and anxiety disorder, and I do suffer from depression from time to time. But I don't know anything about how to deal with bipolar or schizophrenia. There are all different types of mental illnesses. And I know how to possibly help someone who suffers from the same things I do, but that doesn't mean that I know how to help someone who may be dealing with some other disorder that I don't have experience with. So the best thing to do as being that supportive spouse, that supportive partner, is to go seek your own counseling to, first of all, give you some guidance and support on how to deal with your spouse who does have these mental issues, and also just to give you a place to vent and release. Because again, it can be frustrating. We're only human. It can be overwhelming. And so it makes it nice when you have someone that you can talk to who understands exactly where you're coming from, and who can tell you it's okay to not always know the right things to say. It's okay to feel frustrated sometimes, but here's how you move through it. This is how you push through, and this is how you are supportive and not counterproductive.
Right. And we live in a day and time where, I'm thankful for a lot of the professional athletes that have come out and spoke about mental health. I think a lot of the celebrities and things like that have come out and spoke about mental health. That is not something as taboo as it used to be. It's something that can have, people can have an open and honest dialogue about now, and seek ways to get help so we can move on and be better, people for ourselves, for our spouses, for our families, for our kids, and just be better, in all. And we just reached that time now where it needs to be discussed. It needs to be talked about. And it's nothing to be ashamed of if things just don't seem like they need to be. And so it's best to just move forward and get that help that you need. Don't shy away from anything like that. And that way you can operate and be the best that you can be.
Right. And another thing I want to add is that mental health issues can definitely be hereditary. And I encourage any of you out there who are dealing with any type of mental health issues, share it with your children once they are old enough that you believe that they can receive it and understand, because you don't want them to end up dealing with some of the things that you've dealt with and possibly overcome, or at least have a handle on, but they don't want to share because they don't think you'll understand, or they're embarrassed or ashamed, or they feel like they're weird or crazy, and so they don't say anything. Share with them your experience and let them know that if they ever feel any of these types of ways, that they can come to you and that you will make sure that you provide them with the help that they need. Don't let them suffer in silence, and don't keep your struggles to yourself because you want to portray yourself as some kind of superwoman or superman to your children. We are living in a day and age where suicide is on the rise. We deal with this wonderful technology and this thing we call social media that can be so great, but it can also be very harmful to those who are dealing with certain mental issues, because people can be cruel, people can be very judgmental. And so I just encourage any of you who are parents and have children who may not realize what you've dealt with, share that with them. And even if you haven't, we know that in our society today, mental health issues are huge. So check in with your kids. Ask them if there's anything they're struggling with. Ask them if they ever feel depressed. Ask them if they have any issues with anxiety or anything, and just let them know that it's okay and there's help. Please, please, please don't let your children, whether they're small children, high school children, young adults, don't let them suffer in silence. Check in with your kids on a regular basis and just take that mental temperature check just to make sure that they're okay, and to let them know that there's always support and always help, and that you're behind them 100%.
Right. And, you touched on suicide rates and things like that. And, suicide rates are high in everyone, children especially right now. We're seeing more kids that are committing suicide and doing those things because of mental health, because of struggles and things like that. And they, and you're seeing also a lot of successful people we deem as being successful financially, or people that have, big families and things like that, seem like they really have it going on, but they are suffering from mental health and things like that. And like I say, just the young lady who committed suicide just a few days ago, she was a beauty queen and committed suicide. She jumped off a building. So those are things that we got to make sure that we are taking heed of, and we're not diminishing or anything like that, that we're actually being serious about what we're doing. And like I say, this is a very serious subject, and should not be taken lightly, because you don't want to get to a situation where I wish I should have could have listened just a little bit more. You want to be that person, a sounding board where somebody can speak to you about what they're dealing with and the things that are going on, and be the one to kind of be the conduit to help them get help that they need in today's times and what we're dealing with.
Right. And another thing I kind of want to touch on as far as kids, because our channel is mainly focused on couples and those who desire to be a part of a thriving couple, I can only assume that many of you have children, or you have a desire to have children. And so I touched a little bit on how to support and be there for your child if you think that they may be struggling from any type of mental health issues, but also talk to your children about the bullying aspect of it, whether they are being bullied or if you feel like your child may be a bully, or even if you don't feel like they'll be a bully, just talk to them about how hurtful and harmful that can be. A lot of kids are bullies when they're little. They don't know any better. And then a lot of grown-ups look at things like, oh, that's just harmless teasing. That's what kids do. Boys will be boys. Kids will be kids. Oh, all kids go through that. Well, it's kind of time out for that. How's that worked for us so far? Bullying is the cause of most child suicides. So if you feel like your child may be being bullied, or even if you feel like your child may be a bully, it's time to have those conversations. Kids need to know how damaging and hurtful and destructive bullying can be. And it's not okay. It's not just a part of growing up. It's not something that we all should experience. And I think that we've lived way too long just accepting it as a part of childhood instead of doing everything that we can to stop it. Don't be afraid to confront your child if you overhear them saying something mean about another kid, or if you see them doing something to another child. And I'm talking about as young as 3 and 4 years old. You have those little kids who will snatch toys, who will hit people. It's not okay. And so I think that the best gift that we can do in our families is to have those conversations proactively and not reactively, so that we can raise healthy, aware, positive people in our society, because these children that we're raising are one day going to be adults, and we need to start preparing them to be positive, productive adults from day one.
Right. And I just want to say, just go back to, have those conversations. They're very vital, very important, if I could add another word with it, they're very essential to our survival, to our happiness, to our joy that we have in life and in marriage relationships. And like I say, we say the children are the future. So let's start these conversations early so we can deal with them, and they're not getting to a point, and later in life, and we have something go horribly wrong with our kids and things like that. So we want to make sure we're doing the things that we need to do, and like I say, having those conversations.
Absolutely. So guys, today wasn't one of our normal bubbly, upbeat conversations, but we felt that it was very necessary to have. And so we hope that you found some value from this conversation, and please share it with others. Also, if you got anything out of this, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. We want to keep having conversations like this with people like you. And so just help us do what we can to grow this tribe of like-minded individuals who want to do everything that we can to make this world a better place. So until next time, I'm Stay Hall.
And I'm Wallace Hall.
And together we are the Halls. And we'll see you next time in the hallway.